The next reconnaissance and footprinting approach I'd like to show you is how we can discover development artifacts. And I'll show you exactly what I mean by a development artifact in just a moment. Now the tool I've decided to use for this is Acute nix. And Acute nix is a very similar class of tool to NetSparker that we saw at the start of this module. So that is, it's dynamic analysis that takes a URL and then it goes away and finds as many risks as it possibly can. So here's how Acute nix works. I've got the website URL already populated here in the dialog box. We're going to say next to that. We'll take all the defaults on this screen. So next again. Now it's doing a quick lookup and then it gives us a bit of information about the site that we're going to scan. So it's found that it's running on an IIS web server on Windows and it's suggesting that the scan is optimized for ASP.NET. That sounds just fine. We're going to accept that, move on to the next screen. We won't bother setting up any forms authentication here, but it's worthwhile pointing out that both NetSparker and Acute nix can be configured to authenticate to the target site as well. So you can test features that would normally only be accessible to a logged in user. So we're going to go next to that as well, and then finish and let the scan start. Now, like NetSparker, this takes a long time to run because it does make an awfully large number of requests. So I'm going to let that go and then we'll come back and continue on once it's finished. And here we go. The scan has now finished. And the first thing I want to look at is the web scanner results. And it has found a whole bunch of different risks. Very similar to NetSparker, lots of different findings, which you'd expect on a site which is intentionally designed to be insecure. What I really want to look at though, is this finding over here about a Git repository being found. And in fact, if we expand out this tree a little bit and we have a look at specifically what it's found, over on the right hand side of the page, we can see that Git files were found at /.git/config. Now Git is a version control system. It versions source code, and source code has all sorts of useful things in it. And this website is serving up a Git repository. So as an ethical hacker, we could pull down this repository, which is accessible over HTTP, Acute nix has confirmed that for us, and start inspecting the contents of that repository. Look at the revision history, who's written code, what are their comments about the code, when did they write it, and of course what is the code itself. Not only would that allow us, with our attacker hats on, to start finding vulnerabilities in the implementation, very often these repositories also include sensitive data. So things like API keys or other credentials which could then be used to compromise the application. Source control is an absolute treasure trove of information when you're looking to exploit a system. And tools like this make it enormously easy to find when a source control repository exists in a publicly retrievable fashion.